Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another episode of Pivot Point here in World of Tanks. And today we are in a Tier 10 standard battle on Fisherman's Bay. And I'm in the M103, the Tier 9 American heavy tank. And this isn't a tank that I've featured maybe at all, maybe once in a replay on this channel. It's one that I'm working through kind of slowly. If you've tuned in at all to my channel before, you know that heavy tanks aren't really my specialty, my preferred style of gameplay. I do have a couple of heavy tank lines I'm working on. I've got the IS-3 in the Russian heavy tank line and the M103 in the American heavy tank line, working my way towards the T110 E5. From all accounts, that Tier 10, the E5 plays more like a medium, and I think it's a style of play that will suit me when I get to Tier 10. But in the meantime, we've got to get through the M103, which certainly plays like a heavy tank. It's well armored from the front, it's got a good turret, big meaty gun with a slow rate of fire, a good punch, and some good alpha damage. And we're going to play this game. It's a little bit differently. It's not your typical heavy tank game. And because I'm, admittedly not the strongest heavy tank player, and because I'm not top tier, there are some Tier 10s out there on the enemy team, I decided to stay out of the town. Usually if you're in a heavy on Fisherman's Bay, you're going to work your way into the town and get into some brawling action. But instead I tried to do something a little bit different today, and it's going to be a little bit of sniping early on. So please don't take this as a how to play the M103. That's certainly not the point of this video. It's just a bit of a different one. I want to showcase the M103 because there hasn't been a lot of it on the channel. And at the same time, this is the Pivot Point series. And so there will be hopefully a good, entertaining battle here that keeps you going down to the end. So we're in position. We're kind of camped in the bush by the church up here in the northwest of the map, and we're looking for targets of opportunity to present themselves so that we can put this gun to work. This is a 105 millimeter on this tank. I'm not sure at the point of this video if I had the top gun locked or the second. The difference is negligible. I think they're both 105 mils, and it's just the rate of fire gets a slight increase if you're using the top gun as opposed to the second gun. So there's our first viable target. It's a 121 Tier 10 Chinese. I think that's the medium tank, but he's actually behind down in the valley there. The enemy is pushing pretty aggressively through the valley to the far west of the map, and from this position we don't really have angles of fire to support. But there's an enemy M103 who we did have a shot at. Unfortunately, the shot went a little bit high and into the turret of that tank. If it had gone into the upper hull, we probably would have penetrated. But because it strayed a little bit high, we missed. And then we had a second shot. We found a tank that didn't look like it was moving, and we had a blind shot. He had disappeared by the time we were reloaded. We let it rip, and we got no hit indicator, so we missed there or bounced. But there's a great opportunity. Jagdtiger, the Tier 9 German turretless tank destroyer, is out aggressively in the open, out of position. We're able to put one into the side, and as he's retreating, we let a blind shot go. We thought we had the lead properly down there, but we only got a critical hit, no damage done. So there he pops back up, and we're able to put another one in. When the Jagdtiger's facing us pretty flush on, we can get through the upper hull. If he's angled, right now he's got a bit of an angle going there, and that's going to bounce. So not too bad. We're putting a couple in here, but we need to have him pretty much facing us flush. That tank is well armored from the front, but that looks okay. Yes, it does go in. Thankfully, the tank was pointing pretty much flush onto us from the front, and so we're able to penetrate the upper plate. The upper casement of that tank is much better armored than the upper front plate, so we aim for the front plate, not the superstructure where the gun is housed. So that was our first kill of the game. It's a valuable target to remove, and now we're going to see what we have next. There's a Tortoise, the Tier 9 British turretless tank destroyer. There's a couple of these turretless tank destroyers in this location. I guess they're all pushing together, trying to work together. They actually might be in a platoon. I see the Jagdtiger was in 2 platoon, and one of the other tank destroyers on that team is also in a platoon, so they might have been tuned up together. But there we have a shot at the IS-4, and I don't know how that didn't go in. I really thought that was going to be at least a shot into the tracks, but no hit indicator, so nothing done there. And then we see the STI, the Tier 9 Russian heavy tank. We're able to put a shot in, and we have a shot at the Waffenträger, the Tier 9 version, the Panzer IV. We let a blind shot go, and we're rewarded with a hit there as well. So you can see we're at pretty long range here. We're at 500 meters, and the gun is doing okay. It's performing well. There again, a flush shot into the side of the STI, we damaged the fuel tanks. So if we could do one more of those, this guy would burn nicely, and that would be a great little bonus for us. We let that next shot go out. Unfortunately, it does not do any damage to the fuel tanks, but another meaty shot into the side of that well-armored Russian tank. And then we get spotted for the first time, so we need to back up. We can see that this flank is not doing well. It's holding, but we are way, way, way outnumbered up here. And in terms of the score, we're actually down 2 tanks. So we're going to need to start turning things around here. There's a couple of damaged tanks pushing the rest of the way on this flank, but if they're still in the game, if their guns are still firing, they're still dangerous, and the numbers will start to matter here very quickly. Thankfully, we are able to pull one back. We get it to 6-7 as opposed to 6-4, and now it's actually tied. So this is great. There's the M103 that we bounced off of earlier. He's a one hit for us, but we don't have a shot, unfortunately. So now I'm kind of in a tough situation here. The E75 is getting backed into the corner. I'm too slow to get out of here. The smart move, if I had started a little bit earlier, been a little bit more aware of what was going on, I probably could have bailed and pulled back to a more defensible location. But I didn't do that. Instead, we are rewarded with a nice kill there into the side of that heavy tank on the enemy team for our second kill. But we are not retreating, and it's just a matter of time here before we start to get ourselves in a little bit of trouble. I am able to put a shot into the medium tank that it's advancing, and he's got the flank of our Jaegeru, and unfortunately took him out. I was hoping to help maybe track that guy in front of the Jaegeru so he could get a nice big meaty shot into the medium tank, but it didn't quite work out. And now I saw the M103, I think, was flanking going around behind me, so I need to turn around and deal with that. Actually, it's a T-54E1, and oh man, I think the gun bounced just a hair as I came over that ridge, but maybe I can, no, I can't even ram that last little hit point off. But thankfully, I was able to get right in the face of the T-54E1, that auto-loading Tier 9 medium tank, and was able to bounce a shot and reload quickly enough to cover my mistake and get that tank out of the game. Then unfortunately, we put a shot into the tracks of the 121 there, and he immediately repairs it. Now we have another shot reloaded. We're able to put it into the cupola there and do some more damage. The guy's a one hit, but I'm on just a fraction of hit points here, 40 hit points. Maybe if I can get a quick shot in, I'll be able to save myself. Oh, 446 damage is not going to be enough to take that tank out, and he's able to poke while I'm reloading and remove me from the game. So I did all I could there, had a nice game, you know, nothing to celebrate, but I think I pulled my own. 3 kills, 12 damaging shots. Unfortunately, my allies are left in a 3 versus 5 situation. So we're going to check out if they can pull through and secure the win for us. So the 3 tanks we've got are a T110E3 on about 50% of his hit points, a VK4502B, so 2 really well armored tanks, especially from the front, and 1 artillery in support, the infamous 5355, the most OP, most hated artillery. If you're asking me my opinion on it, I cannot stand that tank. I get shotgunned by them every time I think I've broken through the enemy lines and I'm going to be able to take out the artillery, and it's a 5355. They shotgun me, full speed, traversing, don't matter. But this isn't about artillery. In this case, he's on our team, and proving my point, he's able to shotgun one of the enemy and make this a 3-on-4. But in exchange for removing that tank, the artillery gets taken out as well. So now it's a 2 versus 4. The enemy team has 2 heavy tanks, a tank destroyer, and an artillery. And we know I think the M103 is still in the game on the enemy team. And oh my goodness, disaster. The T110E3 bounced off of a target. That is a rarity. But the VK4502B did have an angle on that same target and was able to take it out. So now it's a 3-on-2. And oh, here we go. There's the ST1 that we were shooting at earlier, and he was just a fraction of his hit points left. And the T110E5 takes him out. T110E3 takes him out. And now we see the only remaining non-artillery left on the enemy team is the Tortoise, the British turretless tank destroyer that we'd seen earlier. And this is a great situation. So the T110E3 is better armored from the front. There's no way the Tortoise can penetrate the E3 from the front. I don't even think if it loads its premium ammo, it could get through there without getting really lucky and hitting a weak point. And the Tortoise is even less mobile than the E3. It can't outmaneuver it. It doesn't have a turret. So these are just 2 big, heavy behemoths smashing into each other in the face, and the E3 is bigger, so he's going to win that fight, and he does. The artillery on the enemy team did take the opportunity of that fight to splash the E3, but it was not enough to remove the E3. So now it's a 2-on-1, and the 1 on the enemy team is an artillery piece. So this looks pretty good. These two guys really dug in and fought it out. The VK4502B is on just about full health. He lost 12 hit points, is that? How do you lose 12 hit points? That must have been an artillery splash of the most gentle kind at the extreme radius of the blast, or some other minor fall damage or some kind of a nudge from another enemy tank. That's crazy. So the VK4502B and the T110E3 are going to now go artillery hunting, and we'll see if they can secure this kill and lock down the game. However, these are two tanks that are not well known for their speed, and I don't want to subject you guys to the torture of watching them crawl across the battlefield in these late stages. So instead, I've sped up the replay to 2 times normal game speed, and now it looks like these guys are racing across the battlefield in hot pursuit of the artillery. So the T110E3 is on just a fraction of health. Even a splash would probably remove it from the game, but the VK4502B is on nearly full health, and so it would be a number of shots from the artillery to take that out. So not much chance that the artillery can turn this around. There's always a chance, maybe some kind of crazy ammo rack or something else, but it doesn't look likely. So the VK makes it into the cap circle, and the cap timer starts ticking. And slowly but surely, here comes the T110E3 as well, and now they're both in the cap circle. And they could continue to hunt down the artillery, but the 50, I think it's a 53, 55 that's on the enemy team, it's just about as mobile as either of these tanks. So if it was running loops around, there's no way that they would be able to catch it. So capping out here, probably the smart thing to do, make the artillery come to them. And unfortunately, there's a blind shot. We could see it coming in, but the artillery does not show itself and instead allows the Allies to secure the win. So a little bit of a letdown that there wasn't some removal of their artillery from the end of the game. We always like to see the artillery get their comeuppance, but not to be. Instead, it's just a victory for the team, but still a nice victory and a pretty decent result in the M103, a tier 10 match, and we put up 4,000 damage, which was enough to secure our first class mastery badge. A couple of operations we had going on at the time increased our experience payout for our double, for our first win of the game, first win of the day, to 6,200 XP. So this is great. This was definitely helping me work my way towards the T110E5. Big shout out to the teammates at the end of the game who helped carry that to the win. I would give you a shout out by name if I could read your names. Instead, here they are, the T110E3 Hero and the VK4502B, both of them having really, really nice games. 1 and 3 on the leaderboard with me wedged in between, and as a nice bonus after the game, I had a message there from the T110E3 telling me that I had a nice game as well, and I of course returned the favor shortly after I backed out of the results screen here. So I thought that was a nice, entertaining one. You can see the detailed stats: 20 shots fired from the M103. That's a bit uncommon for me in this tank. Usually I don't get that many rounds off with this gun. I'm either in the fight and removed, or the fight moves on before I can keep up. 17 of those hit. Again, we were doing a little bit of sniping, which is not what the M103 is meant to do. And 15 of those, 17 penetrated, again bouncing off of the well-angled front of the Jagdtiger. Maybe both of the shots that bounced, that might have been what happened. And you can see that earned us a nice little silver payout. Unfortunately, the ammunition and repairs cost put a big dent in that. So tier 9 tank, we made just under 10,000 silver. Again, you're not meant to make silver in your tier 9 and 10 tanks without having a really good game. So not a big deal there. But like I said, a nice game, kind of an entertaining result, a good comeback, showing those two tanks working together on our team to overcome a 2 versus 5 at the end of the game, or a 3 versus 5 that quickly became a 2 versus 4 at the end of the game. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you did, feel free to give a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe for future content, I'd certainly appreciate it. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.